2, 1. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to wherever you are in the world. You're here on Radio Works platform with your host, Sabrina Ben Salmi on Dream Big Show. I'm here today with two amazing guests, well, several amazing guests, and the Forever Family, Forever Free, Laura, David, Tegan, and Tyler, and Douglas Vermeeren, out from Canada. Guys, thank you very much for joining me today. There's some technical, they'll bounce back on, guys. We've had some glitches with technology, so, good fact. I'm really happy the fact that we can connect from anywhere in the world, so I'm just grateful for this opportunity. Starting with yourself, Doug, can you tell the listeners a bit about what you're doing and the importance of, wealth creation for kids?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I love what you said about being international, because right now I'm in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. That's where we're located today. So I know you guys in the UK right now, you're probably about almost 7 o'clock. Well, we're just almost at 12 noon. So it's pretty good. But a little bit about myself. I think I've kind of been a serial entrepreneur, although I was raised in a family that really were employee minded. My parents were not entrepreneurs. In fact, my dad did have a go at a business later in life, but when I grew up, no, they were all employee sort of mindset. And so I've seen a real shift actually in the marketplace today from what used to be traditionally parents would encourage kids, finish your school, get a good job, work hard, etc., and don't think about anything outside of your schoolwork until you've completed that part of your life. And I'm very excited. There's been a big shift. There's a lot of entrepreneurs, which you'll meet a couple in a minute when you meet Tegan and Tyler. But there's a lot of youth that are now starting to create businesses, and some of them very successful businesses, even while they're in their preteens and teens. And so in some ways, I'm kind of a bit jealous, right? Because they've done so much and got so many cool things going on. And sort of what I do is there's a couple main focuses when it comes to, I guess, wealth building. I did learn how to make a lot of money in my late teens. But the thing that I think I learned the most that really did help me was the confidence and the selling skills. And I don't just mean like selling a product. I mean selling yourself and learning how to influence people to support you in your mission and to help you get to that next level. And I guess the way that I really began to learn that is I went out and I conducted interviews with more than 400 of the world's top achievers. And primarily those individuals taught me the power of how to influence others, how to get support for the missions and the dreams that you believe in.
Okay, so what would you say your 3 biggest takeaways learning in those key skills? What are the biggest 3 takeaways that you can share?
The first big takeaway is that you need to be very, very clear with your mission. If you're not clear with your mission, you can't articulate it in a way that others can even help you. So I came up with a little saying that says, a goal that's specific and clear is attainable and near. And I think that's a really big problem for a lot of people. They say, I'd like to have more time or more abundance or more, better relationships, but they're not really very specific. And so they don't really know how to begin to approach that. And I think the second thing that I learned that was really important is don't be afraid to ask for help. In fact, one of my success interviews taught me the most important question that you can always ask at the end of any visit with anyone that you're ever with. And that's, who else do you know that I should talk to that can help me with this? Because nowadays, like we've heard that in the world, we have this 6 degrees of separation. Well, that doesn't exist anymore. I think it's down to 2 or maybe even 1. We all know so many people, especially through social media. We have access immediately to people. And it's so funny that, we often take that for granted. Like, it's hilarious. One of the success interviews that I did, whether you like him or not, was Donald Trump. And the thing that has been surprising to me specifically about Donald Trump is I just recently wrote an article about what salespeople can learn from Donald Trump, right? And I was immediately actually able to connect it to him directly through one social media link that I had. And so he read my article. Very cool, right? And so I guess you're asking for a third and final thing. And I would say, I know we don't have a lot of time here, but I would say it really comes down to something called the law of probability. Traditionally, people would write down a goal, and then they would have a checklist of how they get to that goal and the things that they need to do to achieve that goal. But the truth of the matter is the way that goals are really achieved, again, this is after my interviews of the 400 top achievers, is that when people set a goal, they're not so concerned about, you know, the write it down, set a date, et cetera, et cetera. They're actually concerned about what little steps can I make that will increase the probability of that goal occurring. So in other words, what is in my control that I can increase the likelihood that that will happen? And that really comes down to the people that we choose to meet and associate with, because people can help us, they can teach us, they can mentor us, they can guide us. The locations that we tend to go, because some places are more likely that you're going to be successful. Like obviously sitting at home on your couch to become a movie star is less likely than going to Hollywood, right? So there are some locations that are going to be better. The next is the knowledge that you learn. There's things that you can learn and understand and grow with that will increase the likelihood that you'll be able to do better at achieving that. And then the last thing that I'd suggest is the more frequently you do these things, like the more people you meet, the more places you go, the more you learn, the likelihood or the probability of you being able to attain that also increases.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And that sounds such a valuable share for the listeners. So I hope guys are taking notes and listening to the perfect examples. And David and Tegan, could you tell the listeners a little bit about your amazing family? So just bear with us, please, listeners. And there's some technical glitches, a bit of a delay, but they will respond at some point.
And it's worth it. These guys are so cool.
Yeah.
So my name is Tegan Helen, author of 3 best-selling books: Money for Kids, The Power to Look Good Dreams, and Be Fierce for Kids. I've shared the stage with some incredible people, such as Douglas Spearman, Kayla Maddox, Warren Aspire Ryan, and lots more people. And I have spent my time with the most incredible people, such as Tony Robbins and Gary Vaynerchuk.
Wow, that is amazing.
I'm jealous.
And my passion is to teach children.
Wow. Got a big vision, young lady. How about you, Dave? Could you share a bit about your journey, you and your family?
I'm a co-author of the Amazon best-selling book, 3 Steps to Family. We've gone through quite a few situations over the last 5 years, and what we've learnt to get through with family issues, we want to share that message with other people so we can help other people. As a child, we had a bit of a dysfunctional family, and what we went through, I want to sort of bring and help other children so they never need to go through that in their life.
Excellent.
I'm passionate about helping families because I at a young age, and children shouldn't have to go through that, and I want to make sure they don't.
Beautiful. So in essence, I always have this saying that we hurt, we heal, and then we help. So you and your family are just basically going out there and showing them how to overcome the obstacles that you've actually encountered. Is that right?
Absolutely, yes.
Fantastic. I'm just thinking, what are some of the key skills that we can transcend to our children at a young age, especially with regards to wealth? What are the fundamental teachings that parents need to be concerned about teaching them?
A big thing for us was when we got into self-development and personal development, we kind of almost felt like a little sad and upset that we hadn't learnt this when we were younger. So from the moment we started in self-development, we were like, our kids are going to know this from day one. And they have, and look at them, they're both authors, they've both got businesses. Their minds, the way their minds work are just incredible.
Excellent, Mummy. Laura, could you tell, obviously the listeners haven't seen Tyler, but Tyler, could you just say Tyler's age and what he's been up to as well?
Did you hear about Tyler?
Yeah, about time.
So that cut out. I'm assuming you said about Tyler David.
Yes, that's right.
He's now 5. On his 5th birthday, he released the first book of this series, which is called 3 Tips for Aliens. He wants to teach kids how to be happy and healthy, including like food size, taking care, self-love, creating that in a book.
Doug, you seem to have some technical difficulties.
So I'm going to give an endorsement to that book because that kid and Tegan, they're both super sharp. They're super awesome. And I love the title of that book, For the Alien to Take Care of a Human. Because I think that's brilliant. Brilliant.
Absolutely
awesome. I love what those guys are doing. It's,
what to the listeners with regards to some of the dangers or the implications of, if we don't teach these core skills at a very young age, what are the realities they're going to face?
Yeah, that's a great question. And again, the question is what dangers face the youth if we don't teach them some core skills? Well, I think one of the biggest challenges that I have seen happen, firsthand is with youth who don't get taught the skills to survive and thrive. They oftentimes default into whatever they're surrounded with rather than make the choice out of their own decisions, right? And our decisions ultimately will dictate our destiny. And now I'm not saying that all children are going to wind up on the absolute worst of the worst if they don't get these decisions figured out in their youth, because for me, I'll be honest, I'm still figuring out my life, right? But yeah, I mean, we're all there, right? But I have seen in real life, actually, the example of someone who did not get these skills and their self-esteem suffered, and they actually turned to addictive substances, and the friends and associations that they began to form were not necessarily healthy and beneficial for them. And ultimately, this individual ended up committing suicide. And so, again, I'm saying that is the extreme. I pray that doesn't happen frequently or at all. But I think if we can empower our youth to really understand that they have control over their destiny, the things that they dream about, their passions and their brilliance are accessible to them. If we can help them understand that at an early age, I believe they can tap into this. And I know I throw everything back to sales and influence, because to some extent it really is. Here's the deal, is that the first person that needs to be sold on our product, meaning us, our goodness, meaning us, is us. Because we can't really, what do they say? A lifeguard can't save others till they know how to swim. And so if they're going out into the world to share their brilliance and to share their value, they first need to believe that they have value. I kind of love what it says in the Bible. It says, love thy neighbor as thyself. That means that you got to start by loving yourself. And I think a lot of people, they kind of get that idea, but they also feel like, society tells us if we love ourselves, maybe that's boasting, or maybe that's pride or ego. Well, the truth of the matter is I believe that the definition of humility is actually to recognize that we're all good and you're just as good as everyone else. Look who just got out of the bath.
Talk about it.
You got your doll. And say hi to this one too. Say hi to this camera too.
Hi.
Yeah. So I believe that humility is recognizing we're just as good as everyone else. And I think too often it's easy to forget that. Our world trains us to be highly competitive. And I think sometimes that's not fair, because we're all competing. How should we say? It's like if I was a pole vaulter and I'm competing against a swimmer, there's no way I can win. And all of us have our own unique gifts. And so we need to recognize that the only competition we're dealing with is ourselves. There is no one playing the sport the way we play it. There's no one playing the same sport. So we have to compete only with ourselves and be satisfied with, if we're doing our best and we can go to bed at the end of the day saying we've truly, honestly, with integrity done our best, we have nothing to fear. We have nothing to worry about.
I totally agree. Welcome back, David and Tegan. We were just talking about the implications that families can be faced with if they're not kind of considering teaching their kids core entrepreneurial life skills, at a very young age. What do you think about that?
Okay.
Can you hear us, David?
I think money should be used in important ways. They actually do what they want. Because if they spend the money on the wrong things, when they get older, they won't know what to do with the money. They'll just spend it on the wrong things and never able to do their dreams.
Very good. Fantastic answer, Tegan. Thank you. What about you, David?
That's you.
David, can you hear me?
If you put £1 a day away in the high interest account for only 50 years, you're guaranteed to be a millionaire. Could you put that £1 in? I think that's
Well, listeners, Tegan, there's some technical glitches here, but Tegan was just explaining if you put £1 away a day because of compound, you can basically be a millionaire in 50 years, if I heard that correctly. Doug, I really liked what you shared with regards to the implication. That is really why I got my children started so young. This is really what the whole Dreaming Big Together is about. It's not saying that as parents we can guarantee the outcome, but as parents, at least if we try our best to just, you know, set the scene, set the foundation, make them realize that anything is truly possible. Let them see, touch, and feel that there's someone out there living their dream. So, you know, thank you very much for sharing that. And I just urge listeners to see the importance that these are life skills. It's not kind of like, is business for or not for me? Like you're saying, selling is a big part of life, whether selling ourselves to our partners, to our children, to our friends, or selling at work or in our career space. And we're quite pushed for time. So I think it'd be quite nice to share with listeners how they can get in touch with you. You know, do you have any upcoming events? You know, how can people kind of learn a bit more about what it is you're doing and how you can add some value to their life?
Well, obviously they can go to my website, douglasvermeeren.com. We have a really cool Facebook group for learning how to influence and sell. And in life, we don't get what we deserve. We get what we can negotiate and what we can sell. So it's important to have those skills. So that Facebook group is called Learn to Sell or Die. Again, it sounds kind of bold, but the truth of the matter is everything we do in life is attached to our ability to sell. So come join us in that group. And then for those of you who are in London, UK, I'm actually arriving back in the UK in a couple of weeks actually from now. So August the 26th, we're doing an event. We're at the Canary Wharf Marriott. Oh, I see you've got my website up there. That's wonderful. And there is information, I believe, about that event, but of course you can connect with Sabrina as well. I'd love to do something special for everybody that's here on this podcast right now. If you'd like to come to this event, I'll tell you what, you mentioned the code Sabrina, 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 and you got to say it 3 times, and you got to say it like I just said it, and we will let you in the door for free. Okay?
Oh, wow. So there's some gifts there.
Sabrina, 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 and we'll let you in the door for free. We've got some gifts we're going to be bringing, so everybody that comes, I've actually got that day 2 free audios for you guys who come. So it's 2 free CDs just for coming that I promise are going to be high value. Give me 1 second.
I love that. I love that.
My dad is giving me presents.
Oh, yeah. Marcus just had a birthday. How old are you, Marcus? Hold up your hand.
4.
Hold up. Show me.
Happy birthday, Marcus.
Yeah, so it's Marcus's birthday. But needless to say, I hope those that are listening, if you'd like to come, please come. We're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to talk a lot about some important things. We're doing a session to help those that are involved in speaking, coaching, and training. I'm going to share with you some secrets that I've used to be able to JV and partner with some of the top names in the business, how I was able to create 3 of the top 10 personal development movies, and how the media has picked me up and used me regularly for discussions on personal development. We'll also be talking again about sales and influence, of course. It's one of my favorite subjects. And so for the first time in the UK, we've never actually ever taken any of our sales training over to the UK before. So for those of you that make it out, you'll be part of that first initial group. And there's some incredibly crazy things I'm going to share and some incredible offers I'm going to give that I've never done before in the UK. So you definitely don't want to miss it if these are things you want to grow. And if you're an entrepreneur, you need to be there because your business will not be in business. Give me 1 second.
I love that.
It's not a privilege to be in business, right? You need to make a profit. And if you don't make a profit, you eventually lose the privilege. So it's very important that you understand the techniques of selling, especially if you've got a product or a service or something that's valuable and worthwhile that the world needs to have. You need to learn how to facilitate that transaction so they can experience that benefit that you have.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I do truly believe that we all have something to sell. I really believe that each of us are a piece of a puzzle to a bigger picture. So, you know, I think it's an ageless thing. I think children, correctly actually, just the other day, Paolo wrote a letter and said, Mum, send this to Doug. You know, children, once you allow them to just activate, it'll be so surprising where they go. Like half of the time my kids will ask me various things just on the spot and I'm just blown away. So I think it's such we're doing our children little justice if we don't allow them just to speak. And there's no good time, there's no right time. Just allow them to speak and share their message. And I think this is what this whole Dream Big show is about. This is what the whole Dream Big Together is that if we have a family that can tap into the bigger goal, the vision, the family brand, you know, imagine what's possible for them as they get older if they've seeded that. You know, young man Marcus is only 4 and being open to watching you being your magical space. Like, I can't imagine what he's going to go on to create.
Well, you know, one thing, and I'm definitely not meaning this as a criticism towards other self-development and self-help leaders. Traditionally, they've concentrated on more established entrepreneurs and people that they felt could, let's call it, pay for their services and what have you. And so the youth has really been a neglected group, I think, in this category, because they just don't have, you know, $5,000 to put on a weekend workshop, right? And so I think that one of my missions has actually been although I do help entrepreneurs and people of that nature, they are a core group. I do help professional salespeople. I'm actually very committed to also helping youth and children that are prepared to take their mission to the next level. And you've been to some of my events. It's not uncommon to have kids there. We welcome them. And if you resonate with that, then you should be part of our family. If you don't, then there's some other stuffy old dudes with, you know, sports jackets and gray hair that want to have you at their events, and they don't want the kids there. So, you know, I'm not criticizing them. I think that what they do is wonderful. I think some of those techniques are great, but I am here also to tell you that, you know, you don't have to be that traditional aggressive person in business or in sales to be successful in today's economy. I think quite frankly, the difference between a contact and a contract is the letter R, which in my opinion has a lot to do with relationships.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So listeners, you know, just imagine if you can get your children to forge some real tangible relationships at a young age, imagine what their future is going to be. And even for the business owners, you know, if you are able to seed into children and youth now, you're actually creating, you know, it's kind of like the Henry Ford model. You're creating your own ideal customer, you know, nurture them to become who you desire them to be. And, you know, you're quite frankly tapping into the next generation of customer service for you, customers that are coming in, customer leverage. So, you know, the world is your apple. I know that Paolo's really on the case. He's asking questions. He's, you know, creating opportunities for himself. They all are. You know, my 4-year-old came about with a new brand. So listeners, I really hope you've got some value from this. Douglas and Marcus, I thank you for your precious time, your patience. Really grateful to this platform. High five, Marcus.
Do a high five.
Yay! So listeners, I hope you got some value from this. I'm going to allow Doug and his family to get off into their day. And, you know, at the end of the day, you don't have to be, do, or have anything. Just take the first step now. Enough is enough. Thinking, you know, I need to learn something new. I need to be something new. Surround yourself with the right people. Everything else will happen organically. So,
you know what? I'll maybe end with something that my wife said. And she's not here, but, you know, she's one of the smartest teachers in our whole house, I'll tell you. Like, smarter than me. And one time we were talking about this idea of actions speak louder than words, right? We've heard that before. But here's the deal, is that being even speaks louder than actions. You see, when you be the right thing, you will do the right thing, and you'll have the right thing. And then the cool thing is then you can leave a legacy and share the right thing, either by teaching it or helping others to create it. But it all starts with what you become, right? So that's important.
Well, thank you for sharing that, Doug. Well, thanks for that. You know, thank you very much, Marcus, and thank you, Doug, and you know, thank you, listeners. You've been listening to the Radio Works platform.
Bye.
Salmi. Oh, bye. Thank you so much, and we look forward to sharing with you more. But you know, stay tuned. There are other shows on this platform, so stay tuned. Have a look around, especially if you're new, and listen out for the next show. Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye.